Work takes up most of your time. That's why you should use Stamps.com to save time with your mailing and shipping, and have flexibility to focus on more important things. Stamps.com can handle all your mailing and shipping needs, with rates up to 88% off USPS and UPS. Add flexibility to your day with Stamps.com. Go to Stamps.com/program to sign up for a special offer. No contract, cancel anytime. That's Stamps.com/program.
At Arizona State University, we're bringing world-class education from our globally acclaimed faculty to you. Ranked #1 in innovation for 10 consecutive years and #2 among public universities for employability, ASU isn't just ahead of the curve, it's creating new paths to success. Earn your degree from the nation's most innovative university. Online, that's a degree better. Explore more than 300 undergraduate, graduate, and certificate programs at asuonline.asu.edu.
We've got a medical system that's basically back in the Newtonian age, where everything is looked at as lumps of stuff interacting with other lumps of stuff. So with that model, you've only really basically got cut, poison, burn at your disposal. But if you start shifting towards a quantum understanding and looking at us as energetic systems, then it's all about energy and frequency. And those devices are starting to come online.
Welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast, brought to you by Coils. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel, and on this show we discuss the common thread survivors share after walking through the fire, the practitioners making a difference, and the treatment modalities that deliver healing back into the hands of the people who need it most. Witness the inspiration we gain by navigating the human experience with grace, humility, and a healthy dose of mistakes. Because part of being human is being beautifully broken. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Beautifully Broken podcast. I'm here with David and Margie Slinger. Now, you guys are here in short because you're delivering next level modalities to people who really, really need it. And before we get into the way that you found your way into the field of energetics and EMF protection, I want to take people to your story, the way in, and it begins with a little bit of a horror story. So if you can just drop us in right there.
Do you want me to tell the story?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tell the story. So we were living in Kenya. We were living in a beautiful place called Shimoni, which is Swahili for the place of the caves, because it had an extensive cave system. But it had a very dark history in that it was a slave port for the Arab slave trade. And they used to put these poor souls in these caves, lock them in there without food and water for a week and see whether they survived. And the ones that survived, they gave food and water, fed up, and they took them out to the markets at Zanzibar. The ones that didn't survive, they buried on the plot of land which we built a house on, which we didn't know when we started building the house. But anybody that knows anything about energy will know that having a lot of dead bodies on your plot is a good way to, and associated with all that misery and anguish, is a good way to anchor some dark energy to your space. So we actually dug up one or two of these bodies when we were digging the well for our water supply. But we had no choice. We were financially committed, so we carried on to building our house. But living in the house, we had some rather interesting experiences. And Margie was getting night terrors. Anybody that's had any encounter with night terrors will know that it's a pretty frightening experience. She was going from fast asleep to waking up and screaming her head off. And of course, me lying next to her thought, somebody come in to murder us. So I'm in fight or flight mode, fast asleep to fight or flight mode. So that was quite disturbing. And we both experienced what I would loosely describe as some form of psychic attack. Right. The presence of some malevolent energies. That's probably the best way to put it. So it wasn't very nice for a while, and we were smart enough to realize it was down to some disturbed energy. we had an internet connection, so I started Googling solutions for disturbed energy. And I came across this stuff called orgonite, which is a derivative of Wilhelm Reich's work. Wilhelm Reich was an Austrian-American scientist who came up with a way to manipulate energy, and he actually had some success healing people of advanced stages of cancer and even changing the weather. So he was the founder of this technology, but it'd been sort of got into the popular narrative as in this form of orgonite, which was like funky looking paperweights, really, made from metal and metal shavings and resin, and this purportedly healed disturbed energy. So we went to one of the local gift shops in the town and got some crystals, which is an integral part of the stuff. We went to a machine shop and got a bag full of metal shavings, and we got some boat resin, which we were actually using to repair our boat. So we put all these things together, made some devices. We put them in the water supply, we put them in the ground around the house, and everything changed pretty much overnight. We weren't aware of it because we had no contrast, but the whole energy just lightened. So it was just like a feeling of like clouds parting, and everything got lighter. The night terrors stopped, and the psychic attacks stopped, or the malevolent energies stopped. It was amazing. So with that experience behind us, we decided, life took us on to New Zealand, and it was the big question was when we got here is like, how are we going to make a living? I mean, we were running a tourist business, taking people out to swim with dolphins in Kenya, but we weren't about to continue that here in New Zealand. So that one of the ideas in my head certainly was that this technology was amazing, and why not try and get it out there? That was the seed of our business. So we got busy making these. We came up with our own variation of design, and we had a shed, and that became our workshop. And we were making these funky looking paperweights and selling them to. We used to go to like the sort of New Age or the healing fairs
Of
up
course.
and down New Zealand. We were new immigrants, so it was a great way to get to know the country, and we were selling lots of them, and we've started to get some pretty amazing feedback. And one of the things that they do, we didn't really understand the connection between how this technology was protecting against electromagnetic fields. So we're kind of coming at it backwards. We had this amazing technology, and it's like then we were finding out what it could do. We knew some of it. We knew, obviously, that it worked against night terrors, and we still have a lot of people that we've been able to help with. That often we get people buy our products for night terrors, and we get almost 100% success rate with those. But we were learning what else it could do, and one of the things that the feedback that we were getting was that people were sleeping a lot better. And of course, now it's fairly obvious that people are not sleeping because they're basically fried by electromagnetic fields. So it's going to put the body into like a fight or flight mode because it feels like it's constantly under attack. In fact, there's even a New Zealand doctor. He's passed now, but he's one of the few people that have found a scientific causal relationship between electromagnetic fields and insomnia and illness, in that our bodies cannot tell the difference between electromagnetic fields and light, and the pineal gland registers darkness, registers nighttime as a time to get busy, start making melatonin, which of course is is crucial for the healing cycle of the body and allowing us to sleep. Of course, the pineal gland cannot tell the difference between EMF and light. So if there's a source of EMF nearby, it thinks the lights are still on and thinks it can just kick back and not do its job and make the melatonin. So people aren't sleeping, and also they're not getting that repair cycle with the melatonin. So that was part of our learning journey. We were getting feedback from people. We were basically selling at one time as a solution for insomnia, and for most people it will work, because that's what's keeping a lot of people awake. Most people are being unknowingly kept awake by all this electromagnetic stuff around.
Yeah, it's really interesting to consider just for a moment, the natural frequencies of the earth, and you're really looking at, I think it's between 0 and 30 hertz. And you're getting some fluctuations when you do get a lightning strike, I think up towards 10,000. But if you're thinking about living in a home, and I always look over, I use the example of my Wi-Fi, and I think of, it says 2.4 on the box, that's 2.4 gigahertz that I'm sleeping in. And how does my body, which is an electrical being first before it's a chemical being, how does my body make sense of that? Well, it really doesn't.
That's it. I mean, we're all guinea pigs in a grand experiment, because nobody's done any long-term studies on this stuff, and they just keep ramping it up. They just introduce another frequency, and they introduce more and more, amplitude by more and more towers around us, more and more devices, more and more toys. Nobody's done any long-term research. We are the guinea pigs, and the sensitive ones of us are falling over. They're being the first ones to fall over. But even the ones that are not so sensitive, they're starting to fall over. And we're rolling from 4G into 5G, and that is intense stuff.
You can see some pictures that are coming out already in some of the cities in the States where they're rolling it out, and you can see the trees next to these 5G towers that are just wilting and dying, and you can get an idea or an image of what that's going to be like when people start to experience that. I mean, if you look at the rise of autoimmune conditions across the states, it's an exponential number, and it's growing and growing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think people have got to think about that as a component.
Well, I think people are starting to wake up to that idea, and I think 5G is so intense that it will wake a lot of people up. People are living with the technology we've got now, and they're perhaps been on a computer for all day, and they're starting to feel a bit irritable, maybe got a bit of a headache. But I think that's just maybe they've been working too hard. But of course, there's the classic symptoms of EMF exposure. But this 5G is so intense. Where they started doing some rollouts in Melbourne, and we've got a long-standing customer there, and they were quite close to one of the towers, and it got really intense. And they called in an electrician. And the electrician, this guy was obviously used to working around electrical currents all his life. He ran away in half an hour and said, "I can't stand to be in this house any longer." That's how intense it was. So even the ones that are less sensitive are going to start to feel this stuff, particularly when they appear on virtually every lamppost. That's the only way that stuff is going to work. It's going to have an awful lot of transmitters.
Yeah, it's very interesting watching this roll out over the country, and to think about what that means. I know we used to send canaries down in a coal mine with the miners, and when the canary died, it was time for everybody to run, because you've got this little bird who's going to be very sensitive to those gases. And I, having gone through myself cancer and Lyme disease, a few other fun things like some toxic mold, I am that sensitive individual. And, preparing for this podcast, actually, so I've done like 16 episodes recorded. And of course, one thing I want to make sure of is that I've got great internet. So I went out and not really thinking before I purchased, but I bought like the mega of all Wi-Fi routers, and I plugged this in. And when I say, and I'm not kidding, my teeth got numb. My front
Yeah.
teeth would go completely numb in the front of my face. And there must be some radio receptor right in here on the frontal lobe. But it was really like, oh my goodness. You know, and I quickly, of course, unplugged, and then I've since hardwired everything in the house. And I mean, I can tell the difference. It's really night and day.
Yeah. So I hope people are listening to this and saying, well, this is what it's doing for Freddie.
Yeah.
I might not be able to feel it, but then what is it doing to me? You know, Freddie can feel it in his teeth. That's how, that's how bad this stuff is. People that sleep in, rooms with their Wi-Fi on, and then they wonder why they get sick or they can't sleep.
Or their cell phones under their pillow.
Cell phones under the pillow, yeah.
But I think people have got now so that they think it's the norm. If they're not feeling great, they think it's the norm. If they've got toothache, they think there's something wrong with their teeth. They're not looking at what the root cause of it is. And of course, we're fed, aren't we, the latest technology and people. I mean, we were in a cafe a couple of days ago, and I just was looking at, we were in a mall. It was horrendous. You know, the Wi-Fi, when you kind of look on your phone, the number of Wi-Fis that you're being hit with.
Yeah, you got 20 different options for networks on your phone.
Yeah. But every single person in that cafe, and they were like couples, and they weren't all on their own, were on their cell phone. Every single person. And we just have just dropped into it. And you talk to people that are aware, or you think they're aware, and they'll say, oh yeah, well, I can't do without my Wi-Fi. And you say, well, do you switch it off at night? Oh no, can't do that because of the kids. And people are just accepting it as the norm and we get a lot of it, obviously, every day. We get phone calls and emails, people that have got to the stage where they just can't live a normal life anymore. So they're just desperate. But I mean, this is just increasing. I mean, in the 15 years that we've been doing it.
I can only imagine.
Yeah. I mean, in the early days, we weren't really so much about EMF as healing and well-being. And now it is just more or less EMF and then well-being and healing, isn't it?
Yeah. People are definitely starting to wake up, but it's almost too late. I mean,
yeah, I know. I have that thought. I was where do I move? Well, again, I'm not a half mile outside of New York City. I look out over the city, and if I pull up on my phone to look for a Bluetooth signal, I get like 50 options. It really doesn't, of course the dose decides the poison, so I can decide how much is coming from inside my home, but really a greater part of my day, I've got to look for outside of the box solutions, because I understand where this is a part of that healing paradigm, and I've got to mitigate this EMF. I want to go back to your guys, your efforts into this discovery of moving this negative energy, and how that turned into some of the devices and some of the pendants that you sell on your website. And I happen to have mine on right now. It's absolutely my favorite piece of jewelry. And I tell people what it does, and then I take it off, and I said, I want you to put this in your hands for 5 minutes. Not going to say what it does. And nobody wants to let it go. They go, can I really just hold this for another minute? I feel loved. And I said, I think there's a reason behind why you feel love, but I want you guys to explain a little bit of the science about the Newbie pendant.
Well, the science is the same for all our devices, and it's really very, very, very simple. You've got two main components working together. You've got one which is moving energy, which is a derivative of Wilhelm Reich's work, who I've already mentioned. He called this energy that he was manipulating, he called it orgone. Now, to me, orgone is what I would call life energy. what your scientists might call 0-point energy, and as previously called the ether. If you spoke to a Chinese person, they would call it chi. If you spoke to a Japanese person, they would call it ki, and Indians prana, and so on. It's the basic soup of life that we're all, or water of life that we as fish are all swimming in. It is everywhere. It's what we're made of. Reich discovered that if you take layers of metal and organic material and sandwich them up, multiple layers, you get something going on where the metal will attract the life energy, or the orgone as he called it, and it would release it to the organic component. And then the next layer of metal would attract it and then would release it. So you've got a track release, track release, track release. So that's acting to pull energy from one place to another. Now, if you introduce a coil into that equation, what happens then is life energy will always follow a curly path if you present it. So it will spin around the coil and create a vortex. And that allows something quite small to be able to move a large amount of energy and have a large effect. So moving energy that's the one component. And the other components people have understood for thousands and thousands of years, that crystals will balance up energy which is out of balance, which is out of whack. So if you combine the two, you've got this device that's presenting this crystal with massive amounts of energy, and it's processing masses of the energy, taking the chaotic component, which is basically the problem for us, is this stuff that represents chaos, to what should be an ordered energetic system that is our bodies. So it takes that chaotic energy and it brings it back to a state of balance. And it's doing it very, very dynamically. So if you hang a piece of jewelry around your neck, which is doing that, what it's doing is because anything that moves energy, any form of energy, you take it from one place to another, you create a field. So you're moving a massive amount of energy, so it's creating quite a significant field, an energy field which is going out and above your own energy field. And that field is controlled by that crystal. So disturbed energy that's coming into that field gets harmonized. So by the time it hits your body, it's no longer stressing you out. The sting has been taken out of it. Over and above that, because we are energy, we are an energetic system, and because it's balancing energy, it's processing our own energy and bring us into a state of balance. So one of the most common feedbacks that we get is that apart from the relief from EMF exposures, that people feel a lot calmer and a lot more centered, which makes complete sense. But if we understand that we're basically an energetic system. You introduce an energy balancer into an energetic system, whose problems all result from chaotic energy, then you can start to see some of the potential, and you can see that why it's been like a learning curve for us to get to understand exactly what it can do.
Yes, no, you're speaking my language, and I love you guys have a few sentences on the end of your website. You say, "We make no claims other than that we have proof that they work. If people differ in their opinion, we respect that. We will not defend our corner, but rather give a full refund." I mean, that's it for me. I mean, I think that just speaks to the your faith behind what you're making. And when I had mine, within 5 minutes, I'd called my friend Mario Campanaro in LA, who you were aware of.
Yeah.
And we both, I said, "This thing's awesome." And he said, "I know, man." He's like, "It just gives you that little bit of lift. And when I take it off, I definitely feel it. So it's not going anywhere away from my body." And I just, I really, really enjoy it. But I want to talk about, I want to talk about some of the other cool things you guys have on your site, some cool products. But then just so people know that you guys have done some really, really great testing on these pendants as far as a scientific background, and you've really done your work. You did a poly contrast interference test. You did a gas discharge visualization. You did an electroscanning method, and then an electro-internal scanning method, and looked at chakra temperatures And then another device you looked at was the Skio, which is a biofeedback device, and you took a rating on that. So we could speak to a one or two of those if you like.
I mean, I could talk about them collectively. They're all biofeedback technologies. The thing with electromagnetic fields is that there's two basic ways you can deal with it, and one is to block it, and you can block it with metal. If you put yourself in a metal cage, effectively your phone will stop working. You won't be able to listen to the radio, but you will also be protected from electromagnetic fields, particularly if that metal box is earth. So that's one way, but it's not very practical.
It doesn't seem practical, does it?
It doesn't seem very practical. And the other way is the way that our technology does is to create like an interference or a harmonizing field. But the disadvantage of that in terms of testing is you can't test it with an electromagnetic meter. You can't, if I was to have a cell phone or ear, whatever, I test it with a meter, our products are not going to change the result because they don't affect the quantity. If they affected the quantity, then they would stop your cell phone working so well, or but they don't affect the quantity, they affect the quality, and the quality is chaotic to harmonized. That's what they're doing. So the way the only really effective way that you can test that is through using the body as an intermediary, as using biofeedback. So all those tests that you talk about, they were done by basically stressing the body with a source of electromagnetics. A cell phone, or I think it's mostly a cell phone.
I think all tests that I saw were a cell phone.
Yeah. See what happens to the body. I mean, some of these instruments can visualize the body's electrical fields. See what happens when it's under stress, and then keep it under stress with having the same cell phone nearby, but then introduce the technology and see whether it mitigates that. And that's what they did. But one thing that people can do themselves is there's a very simple test. Maybe you want to share the link with your listeners. There's a very simple test that you can do that shows how instantly will make you stronger. And it's a balance test. You need somebody basically to get behind you and unbalance you, and then you put on a pendant and you see how much stronger that makes you and how much easier you can resist that process. And it's very black and white. I mean, it's really mind blowing. It's like whether you're not relying on any technology which you don't really understand to tell you whether it's working or not. You absolutely know that, and it's doing that because it's protecting you from electromagnetic fields. It's centering you, but there's also a couple of other things this technology will do. You were talking about the Earth's natural frequency, or what is known as the Schumann frequency, because it contains a crystal. The crystals are naturally plugged into that frequency. So even if it changes, it's plugged into that frequency, and that crystal is very dynamically, energetically connected to your body, to your system. So you're locked into the Schumann frequency, which is very, very strengthening. Because you live in a city, you've got all the Wi-Fi, whatever. You can't measure the Schumann frequency because it is drowned out. And if we isolate ourselves from this frequency, we will get sick. We are designed as animal, mineral, vegetable is designed to be in tune with the frequency of the earth.
Yes. Electrics are a part of the healing paradigm always.
Yeah. So it's very strengthening. And it also, because it's expanding your energy field, it's also connecting you with the earth. Because that's one thing that we do is that we wear rubber shoes and walk around on concrete, and we've isolated ourselves from the earth. But this makes a strong energetic connection with the earth, which is also very strengthening. So it's even got applications, in things like sport. We've got golfers wearing pendants because it strengthens and stabilizes. Well, any sport, it's going to make you stronger and improve your performance. So that's a whole other market which we've never really gotten into, because spend a lot of our energy trying to educate people about the problem of EMF.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you definitely feel a sense of just being grounded. And that's always my advice to people I work with one-on-one, is to get outside, get barefoot, get in the dirt. And in some cities, it presents more of a challenge. It's never impossible, but in some cities, it does present a challenge. And I think sometimes you've got to look for outside of the box means to find your grounding, to get a little connection with Mother Earth. This is certainly one way. Now, aside from the pendant, you guys have some other systems that are probably a little stronger. And do you think you could speak to some of those?
Okay. Well, probably definitely one of our biggest sellers is I don't know if you can see it there, our pyramid energy balancer. Now, we've gone basically two ways with this technology. One is for the personal protection, like the pendant that you and I and Margie are wearing now. That is obviously very portable and keeps you protected and balanced where you go. But there's also things like the pyramid energy balancer, which puts out a much stronger field, and the approach there is to protect a space. So it's putting out a field in your workplace or over and above your workplace or your home, and then anybody in that field is getting that layer of protection. Mm-hmm. So it's just a different way to approach the problem. So quite often people will have one of these in their home, and then they'll still wear the pendants to so that they're balanced as they go out and about.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a very strong device. In fact, most people, if you put your hand over the top, you can feel the energy coming off it. There aren't too many people that can't feel that.
Yeah, I'm very sensitive. I know I want one of those too. I'm very sensitive to energy, and another thing that I've invested some time and training in is to do work with Reiki and moving life force energy when working one-on-one with a client. And it's amazing how the frequency changes over the throat chakra to the heart to the sacrum in different people. But when you start to tone that in and check in, it's almost like a superpower. And you can feel when these certain devices or these units, they have a field and they have a vibration to them.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting.
That's the plus side to being sensitive, is that you get all this extra information coming at you from, which the less sensitive people are unaware of. So everything balances out, I suppose.
Yes, it does. No, it's definitely benefits. The other one device that I saw on your website that I was very, very intrigued on, and we have not spoke about, but the QSB, which is a quantum scalar box. I wonder if you couldn't just speak to that one a little bit.
Okay, I haven't actually got one here, but I can certainly talk about it. Yeah, this is not about EMF protection. This is and it's not really about Reich's work. It's more to do with Nikola Tesla's work. Tesla didn't discover them, but he kind of rediscovered them and made popular something called scalar waves. Now, a scalar wave to me is just a vibration in the life energy field, or the zero point field. But you can create it using electricity, and special coils. So this works on the understanding that everything is energy. This is what the quantum scientists, quantum physicists are saying, is that basically you've got three things: energy, consciousness, and information. That information being frequency. So if you come from that understanding, then what the logical approach for our issues is with energy, consciousness, and information. So, or specifically, energy and information. So, what the QSB does is it takes an electrical signal and turns it into a scalar wave at that frequency, and then radiates those frequencies out into the room and into your energy field or people sitting around it. Now, that's a very powerful way to deliver energy and frequencies, but it's made more powerful in the frequencies that we're using. There's and I'm sure some of your listeners will have heard of these, the solfeggio frequencies.
Yes.
Solfeggio frequencies, the monks, Benedictine monks used to chant in these frequencies with great healing effect. And each note has a particular strength in helping us to release our issues, so guilt and fear and, and being able to communicate. All those issues are tied in with these frequencies.
And the notes correspond with chakras up the body as well.
Exactly. Yes, they match frequency to chakra up through the body. Delivering those frequencies as sound is powerful. In fact, Pope Gregory, in his wisdom, thought it was too powerful for the masses, and he decided to bury it into the Vatican vaults. And they were actually rediscovered, found hidden within the Bible. But that's almost another story. But they're having a renaissance. Musicians are retuning are using these frequencies and tuning their guitars and what have you, and it's powerful delivered as sound. But if you deliver those frequencies as scalar waves, then you get right to the core at full power, and the core being our issues, our mental and our emotional issues, the baggage that we all carry around, and that basically stuffs us up and allows us to make all the bad decisions in our lives that take us down roads that perhaps we're better avoided. My understanding about illness, and I'm not alone with this, is that they're all rooted in these emotional and mental issues. It's like the dirt that the seeds of this stuff, these illnesses can grow in. So if you deliver these beneficial frequencies into the body, it can use those frequencies to shake this stuff off. And as you shake it off, the potential for healing is quite profound.
Yes.
But in a simple day-to-day effects, it is very, very de-stressing, because it's effectively what these things are these issues are a stress held within our system. So another way you can look at it is you're getting a deep massage, but it's beyond a tissue massage. It's down into your energetic stuff, and then that stuff can be released. So it's a very, very de-stressing, and we're getting some amazing feedback and some amazing results. But I mean, there are about 300 out there so far.
Wow.
You mentioned Mario. Mario's introduced one into his healing journey, and he's having some success with it. So we're looking forward to getting his feedback.
Yeah, no, I work with a very similar technology in the amp coil, which is a PEMF device that works off a magnetic wave based off a modified Teslsa coil, a toroidal wave, which covers the body. And on that magnetic wave are broadcast frequencies that go into the body. And very specifically, the unique thing about amp coil is that there's program journeys. So the frequencies are all programmed. So you've got a 33-minute journey that might charge up the immune system and flush some lymphatics, and then go after some disturbances, as we spoke about. The disturbances being whatever you want to call them, some microbes, metals, or things that are not harmonizing this beautiful symphony in the body. And I think there's an awakening, as we said in the emails the other day, there's an awakening in the world that there might be a better way to go at this bioterrain, this beautiful symphony, than just blasting it with antibiotics.
Well, absolutely. I mean, the thing is, we've got this mismatch now. We've got science which is up with the quantum physics, and they're starting to use some of those principles to create, some beneficial devices. But we've got a medical system that's basically back in the Newtonian age, where everything is looked at as lumps of stuff interacting with other lumps of stuff. So with that model, you've only really basically got cut, poison, burn at your disposal. But if you start shifting towards, a quantum understanding and looking at us as energetic systems, then it's all about energy and frequency. And those devices are starting to come online.
Mm-hmm.
They're still not mainstream, but they're there. They're being created. It's Tesla's technology is coming back.
Brilliant.
Yeah, that is the way. The healing of the future is going to be all about physics. We're going to this. You can write this down as a prediction. We're going to be. Sorry, big pharma, but we're going to be stopping taking your poisons, and we're going to start looking at energy and frequencies to heal our bodies.
I love this quote that you gave. I picked it up somewhere online, and you said we can provide frequency or tools, but that healing happens from the cell on a cellular level from the information provided to the body.
All diseases are incurable, and that means that they're curable from within. We are the healers. I mean, if anybody comes to you and says, "I can heal you," you can slap them on the face and send them away, because all they can do, anybody can ever do for anybody else, is provide tools and knowledge for people to help heal themselves. Ultimately, we are all our own healers, and that's something that we've lost. We've lost that power. We've been trained to give that power away to people like our doctors, who have ended up basically being lackeys for the pharmaceutical industry. So effectively, we've given our power away to an industry which benefits when we're sick, because that's their bottom line, is they're selling drugs to us when we're sick, and they're not selling drugs to us when we're well. So we've given our power away, and that's part of the process we're going through as a species, is to start taking that power back, realizing that we can heal ourselves, and that and that we can use technology to help that process.
But we came with the QSB from a different perspective, whereas with all our other products, we produced them and then learnt what they did. The QSB, which David humbly does not take much credit for, was 9 years in the production. No, not production, that's the wrong word. Development.
Yeah.
With lots and lots and lots of testing, and with that, you can actually physically test it with blood, which we've done, and it proves that after half an hour, it completely de-stresses the blood. So this has been for us another journey, really, a completely different journey, hasn't it? And completely diverse from our other products, which are also loosely doing a similar thing in that they're healing, but this is real healing. And we've had some amazing, haven't we, feedback and results, which is so heartwarming. It's just unbelievable, and it's what really carries us forward.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It's what motivates it. But Margie talks about humility. But I mean, that humility comes from a perspective of an understanding that what we're doing is much bigger than we are, and that effectively we are bringing it forth. We are conduits for it. But my feeling is this technology is absolutely needed here. And we, at some point, we must have put our hands up to be facilitators for that. So
if you've ever watched a documentary on Tesla and Nikolai Tesla and just seen the amount of information that he was downloading from some other area of the universe. And, there was a time when he was celebrated, and then there was a time when he was very discriminated against because he was almost too much for people to connect with. There were so many degrees of his personality that were spinning out of control. It was almost too much information was coming through him at one time.
He was ahead of his time. And of course, that's
unbelievably.
Fortunately, enough of his work was recorded that it's still there and it's now having its renaissance.
And it's beautiful that we're both working with it on different continents. I think that is so neat. And to speak to technology, that we're having this conversation right now, and you're in New Zealand and I'm in New York. I think that's so amazing. You guys are the land of tomorrow. We're on a different day over there. And I want to this statement, I came up with this as well about this just energy work. And in these very old provinces of China, for example, you would pay the doctor when you were well, and you didn't pay him when you got sick because the doctor had failed to keep your energies in alignment, and therefore your physical body was in a healthy state. And so the doctor had to work very, very hard to get your energies back into harmony, so your body would follow the energies back into health.
Do you think we could adopt that system? That would be a bit revolutionary.
I think we're both on that path. But I just want to say thank you guys so much for being here. I am so excited for people to hear this and reach out to you. Just remind everybody what your website is and where they're going to go.
Okay, so our website is www.lifeenergysolutions.com.
Beautiful. And I will, of course, link that, lifeenergysolutions.com. I'll link that in the show notes. And we'll have a special link for you guys, for the Beautifully Broken audience, to grab whatever it is. We didn't talk about everything, but there's pendants, there's beautiful jewelry, there's snap bracelets for kids. Whenever I see a child acting out in a fit of rage, I always think, A, he needs the grains and sugar taken away, and B, he needs to mitigate from some of the EMF in his house. But I know there's somewhere that everybody can drop in and get a little taste of this technology in your life, see if it works for you, and I think we'll go from there. I think we're probably going to do another interview at some point. You guys are lovely, and you just fit right into this audience. So I thank you very much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you very much for having us on.
And fabulous meeting you.
A wonderful meeting you as well. Namaste.
Namaste.
Amazing show. I love technology and the internet. It's so cool to connect with David and Margie on the other side of the planet and get their download of knowledge and life experience. Blessed to be able to use the computer in this way. Now, as I mentioned on the podcast, I pulled the trigger on a Life Energy Solution pendant, and I've been sleeping so much better since I got mine. David and Margie graciously offered us 10% off of anything from their store. So just put in the code Beautifully Broken at checkout, no spaces or caps, when you're ready to upgrade your personal energy field. That's lifeenergysolutions.com. This episode of the Beautifully Broken podcast was brought to you by our sponsor, Coil, upgrading the vibrations of hearts, minds, and bodies all over the world. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed today's show, head on over to iTunes or Spotify or Google Play and subscribe. Leaving a 5-star review and grabbing a download, it's like giving us the virtual thumbs up that we're doing it right. And if you want to connect with me, shoot me a message on Instagram at FreddySetGo or message me through FreddySetGo.com. That's it for today. Our closing, the world is hurting. We need you at your very best. So take the steps today to always be upgrading. And remember, while life is pain, putting the fractured pieces back together is a beautiful process. I'm your host, Freddie Kimmel. This is the Beautifully Broken podcast. Namaste.
Work takes up most of your time. That's why you should use Stamps.com to save time with your mailing and shipping, and have flexibility to focus on more important things. Stamps.com can handle all your mailing and shipping needs with rates up to 88% off USPS and UPS. Add flexibility to your day with Stamps.com. Go to Stamps.com/program to sign up for a special offer. No contract, cancel anytime. That's Stamps.com/program.
When you think about your future, you know what calls to you. Meaningful work, happiness, growth, and sharing these values with others. But how will you find all of that? There are many paths forward, including one you may not have considered. The military provides countless opportunities to pursue your calling, where you can be part of something bigger than yourself, while still being yourself and having the future you want. You have a calling, we have an answer. Learn more at todaysmilitary.com.
Americans love using their credit cards, the most secure and hassle-free way to pay. But D.C. politicians want to change that with the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. This bill lets corporate megastores pick how your credit card is processed, allowing them to use untested payment networks that jeopardize your data security and rewards. Corporate megastores will make more money, and you pay the price. Tell Congress to guard your card, because Americans lose when politicians choose. Learn more at guardyourcard.com.